Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA Edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, starting with Taylor Smith, getting ready to go over this nice 6-game main slate over at DraftKings. If you like to win money and if you like to play NBA DFS, this is the channel for you. We break down every slate, pointing you to our favorite plays and also adding a little nuance to it, looking at projections and ownership and matchups and all that stuff, hopefully to help you build the perfect lineup or just set you up for success across many lineups if you like to enter a lot of lineups into your contest. If we help you out in any way, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also consider joining us in Discord. Discord is currently free. You can come in there and chat with the community, and they can, give you opinions on your lineups, and you can ask for advice and all that fun stuff. And we are also offering a couple of paid options, our night slate core picks for DraftKings, as well as our main slate FanDuel core picks. You can hit the Patreon link on our YouTube channel to catch those. But hopefully we can see you in Discord as well. All right, let's get to it. We go position by position, highlighting the top plays. Let's start up top with Cade Cunningham at 10.1K with a 55-point fantasy projection, carrying a little bit of ownership, but arguably not enough just because he's got a massive projection here. I think price is probably going to keep me a little bit away from Cade, but I think he's very interesting at this projection if he's not going to be super owned.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of him, which has not really been the case recently for whatever reason, but no Ivy, no Stewart. Matchup against Dallas is okay. They're at home. It has a pretty tight spread, so Detroit has been playing pretty well also. So I'm not really concerned about a blowout in either direction. Cade is fantastic. There's a lot to pay up for on this slate, so if you don't want to pay for Cade, I understand it, but given the ownership, which could be single digits on DK, maybe a little bit more on FanDuel, where it's a little bit cheaper. I guess they're the same price on both of them. I really like him a lot. I think it's a great play. I think the ownership's very good. No issue paying all the way up for him today.
No, I think his price even came down too from where it was. It was 10.6 3 slates ago. So kind of a little bit of a discount for what he can do for you. The only issue with that is, like you said, there's a lot of options to pay up for, specifically center with Giannis, Wemby, and Jokic there. So it's tough for me to really, argue to pay for 10K Cade on this slate. And there's even options at point guard. So the next one is my favorite play of the position. It's Scotty Barnes, assuming Emmanuel Quickley is out. I think if Emmanuel Quickley's in, it lowers his ceiling a little bit. But he still looks really good. I mean, you get the best matchup of the slate really against the Bulls here. Fast-paced team that does not defend. That looks pretty good. 9.4K. I mean, what are your thoughts on Barnes? He looks awesome to me.
Yeah. I'm pretty tired of Toronto.
It's true.
The other day, they project insanely well. I think Quickly coming back might make a difference, but Barnes still I have Quickly projected in, and Barnes is still projecting very well. Once again, though, I think you're probably playing him at small forward just because point guard is always the more stacked position between the two on DK. So awesome play. I'm getting him a ton. I'm well over the field. The matchup is phenomenal. Like I said, I don't really care about the Quickly thing. Like if he's in, I'm still going to play Barnes at a pretty good clip. On FanDuel, I think he's forward eligible, power forward, small forward. So still a great play over there, but not point guard.
Yeah, I mean, the ownership right now is very exciting. If he's actually going to be a sub 10% on play, I like him even more. If people are going to be worried about Quickly coming back, again, like him even more. So he just looks really, really good. I think at this point, if I'm going to spend up at point guard, he's the guy I'm looking at. I think Cade's certainly good play. I just think if he's going to be even less owned than Cade right now, that's pretty appealing. And by the way, we're looking at Dame here and Tyrese Maxey. They're carrying a lot of ownership. So I would much rather pivot to a better projecting and in an amazing spot, Barnes. I think Maxey's a good play. I think Dame is okay at 9K. Nothing wrong with those guys. Obviously, Denver's defense has not been very good lately, so Maxey certainly could excel here, and no PG-13 or Joel Embiid. So, if you want to play Maxey, that's okay. If you want to play Dame, that's fine. I just think Barnes looks better, so that's the guy I'm going at. What do you think about Dame and Maxey, though?
Yeah, I never mind getting to Maxey without Embiid and George. Obviously, there's a lot of usage for him. Matchup against Denver is fine. They've been a little bit better defensively, so not a core play, but always someone you can play in a tournament. Ditto for Dame. It looks like Giannis will be chalky tonight, but as of now, I'm just in the Giannis camp. So Dame's price has come up. I think he's over 9K on DK. Not sure about FanDuel off the top of my head. 9.2. So
He
a little pricey. I think he's fine. not a core play, not someone I'm really getting to with a lot of volume.
No, it just looks like a GPP play, which is weird that he's carrying like 24% ownership. I just think if that's going to be the case, gladly 100% pay $400 more for Barnes or go up to Maxi or Cade. There's also James Harden. There's also Kyrie Irving. And of course, if Zion is out, DeJounte Murray at 8.2 gets a boost. He already projects okay, but if Zion's out, I'd imagine he'd be closer to 45 or 50. In theory, like Boston's not an easy matchup, but in theory, if that game stays close, DeJounte could absolutely smash there. So those guys will look good. DeJounte would be the next priority, I think, if Zion's out. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not really getting to them as of now. I have Zion projected in, so bad matchup. If Zion's in, they have a better chance of keeping it close. But if he's out, the rates would increase for the secondary guys. So I might get a little bit more into DeJounte, Trey Murphy, stuff like that. But I don't really want to. It's already a 12-point spread. Could grow if Zion sits. So not really dying to play the Pelicans. There's a lot else to pay up for and better game environments to target.
Yeah, we might disagree a little bit here. Last time DeJounte faced Boston, he had 55 fantasy points, and that was with Zion. So I just think like the game environment, if they can keep it close, I think he's going to be really interesting at that price. Now, if he gets like, if it's found out early that Zion is out and DeJounte's like mega chalk, then we can entertain, going underweight, obviously. But 8.2, if Zion's out, that feels like really cheap. Josh Giddey also looks really good with no Zach LaVine, 7.2K. Never feels easy paying over 7,000 for Giddey, and like he played like 25 minutes last game, but I think they got housed. But he looks good here. Solid projection. I think I prefer Kobe White by a lot at 5.9K. Looks like one of the best values of the slate. But there's a lot of options in that range. There's Ayo Dosunmu from the same team. There's Chris Paul. And then you could go down even further with Stephon Castle, who looks really good at 5.2K. So just speak to those like low mid-range values. Like which one of those guys do you like the most?
It's easily White. I think he's the cheapest he's been all season. I think it's 5,900 on DK. He hasn't been under 6K all year. They said he played 25 to 28 minutes the other night, and he played 30 in a blowout. So I feel pretty good about that. Toronto's defense has been much better lately over the last couple of weeks, but small sample, not really fully buying into it yet. Close game like we talked about. So I like Kobe White quite a bit. I think he's kind of a core play on this slate. I think Josh Giddey on FanDuel looks a bit better. I think he's 7.2 on both sites. I'm getting to him a lot on both, which I haven't implemented any like rules or anything to separate these bulls, but all of them look good. Like Ayo looks good. Lonzo Ball even looks like a pretty good value. So Chicago's kind of jumping off the page. I like all these cards quite a bit.
Yeah, there's no reason not to. I think the way I'd play it really is if you just want to eat the chalk and play the safe play, it's going to be Kobe and maybe even Ayo. But if you want a high upside option, Giddey would be your guy. You just have to invest those funds into a riskier play. That's just more of a GPP play, and that's just the way it is. If we want to go down, obviously quickly is back. If he is back, we're not going to pay 6.7K for him because he's probably going to be limited. At least I'm not going to. Is there any like punt play down here that you really, really like? I know Kyle Lowry came out of nowhere. He got like 32 fantasy points. I'm not doing that. I don't really see anybody. I will say I don't want 5.5K Micic. I'd rather go like Castle or Pritchard or even Dinwiddie. Like I just don't think I need to do that. But is there any other punt at point guard that you like?
Not really. I think you can play Chris Paul, but the minutes have been coming down a little bit, so I'm a bit concerned about that. He's cheap, but there's a reason for that. His minutes have been on the way down, and not sure how to play that. Castle does look good, like you said. I don't get to him very often, but on this site, I really am. The Bucks are a pretty good matchup for a guy like that. Quickly on FanDuel is only 6.2, so if he's back playing 30-ish minutes against Chicago, one of the better matchups you can have, I do think he's a good play on FanDuel. Ditto for Russell Westbrook. We didn't really talk about Westbrook and Murray, but every single night these guys are in play. Murray's price has come up a bit after he was cheap for a while. Wide range of outcomes with him, as we've seen, but still a good play, I think. Westbrook, same thing. Drew Holiday on FanDuel's 5.1. That's cheap enough to get to. It's not as deep a position as it usually is, so the value kind of thins out in a hurry here.
Yeah, so I think overall, if I'm spending, it's probably going to be Scotty. And then I'm dropping down and probably playing Kobe and Castle for the most part. Do you have like a flag plan, a point guard that you are getting to more than any other player at the position?
Unfortunately, it's Giddy.
I mean, for tourneys,
So
I am with you. I like him a
it's a
lot. The
great,
upside is
it's a good
great.
spot. If Toronto's defense is a mirage lately, Giddy has a wide range of outcomes too. The minutes are pretty uncertain, but without Levine, he's been very good all season long. So ceiling to be had, doesn't have to score to get there, which is nice. So I do think Giddy's a pretty strong play, unfortunately.
Yeah, risky, but major upside. So I do like him a lot. I probably, if I'm doing one lineup, I'm probably not going to do it. But if you're doing a lot of lineups, I'd be very overweight for sure. At shooting guard, shooting guard's not looking very welcoming. Jamal Murray, though, is fine. Jalen Murray, Trey Murphy are fine. Obviously, Jalen Brown, I meant. Jalen Brown against the Pels. I like him actually quite a bit. The projection's not super amazing, but I think he's a discounted Jalen Brown, 7.8K. Anytime he's under 8K, I have interest. He's a 8.4K on FanDuel. I think he's pretty easy to get to over there as well. So I like him. There. Trey Murphy, if Zion is out, looks pretty good at 7.6K. Don't have a problem there. That said, I think shooting guard is a spot where we can pay down because there are just other options kind of in those price ranges, or there's just going to be studs that we're going to want to get. So I think shooting guard is a good place to save. We already talked about Kobe White. I do like Kelly Oubre at 6.3K, projecting pretty good. Denver does not defend the 3 that well. Devin Vassell at 6.1 looks good. And Dasun we already talked about. I don't mind Pritchard. Obviously, the Celtics are healthy, but there's blowout risk against the Pels, and the Pels are just in general a very good matchup. So that's where I'm at there. I think what's the other guy? No, I think that's it. You got any thoughts here at shooting guard?
Yeah, Trey Murphy's the one Pelican I'm kind of getting to a decent amount. I think it's because he's guard forward. He has a huge minute ceiling. If Zion's out, more usage for him. So I like him quite a bit as things stand relative to the ownership, which is not anything right now. So Murphy's my favorite expensive shooting guard, along with I think Norm Powell in the tournament's okay. I'm just worried the Clippers are going to completely destroy the Hornets tonight. So
as they should.
Blowout risk in that one, but it is a good spot. Vassell looks like he's pretty chalky on DK. Don't really get it, but he's fine. I'm not getting to the 30% ownership that I'm currently looking at. I'm more like 5%, but still playable. I much prefer Oubre in that range. I would just rather play Oubre for Philly against Denver without Paul George. His minutes have been super high. The rebounding's been there without Embiid and without Drummond. So between those two, Vassell and Oubre, despite Vassell having small forward and Oubre not, I think Oubre is the better option. Kobe White being the best option in that range, like we talked about. Chris Middleton's also playable on DK, small forward 5'1", small forward shooting guard 5'1". Playing off the bench, obviously a wide range of outcomes, but not the worst play.
It's ugly out there. With Chris Middleton. I don't really want to do it personally. I think there's just other guys in the price range. Like I would rather take a shot on Pritchard. They're both going to get the same amount of minutes. I think he just offers a better ceiling and he's in a better spot. Castle, much prefer Castle, who isn't even that chalky, at least at the ownership I'm looking at right now. And speaking to the Vassell thing, I like Vassell. He's okay at 6.1. Certainly a decent price for who he can be, but Castle is my preference there, and definitely Oubre. So I think we're pretty aligned.
I think Io is a way better play on FanDuel, where you have to play 2 shooting guards, and he's cheaper on FanDuel by $100. Io's lack of ceiling makes him kind of a shaky tournament play, but given the position and how little there is out there, Io's pretty good on FanDuel.
Yeah, I also kind of like Io a little bit better on FanDuel compared to Kobe, just because he's a little bit cheaper and just gives you a little bit more flexibility. Yeah, but I like all those guys. I mean, if you want to play Io and Kobe or Giddey and Kobe or whatever, you can. I mean, they all look good. Any punts at shooting guard that you're entertaining?
I think Asar on FanDuel at 5K. He scores better on FanDuel as a defender. You get 3 for blocks and steals, like we know. I think he's okay over there. Otherwise, not like Tim Hardaway. Unfortunately, I'm getting to on DK at 3.9. Just the Detroit side is kind of popping against the shorthanded Dallas team, but he has to hit his shots. And when he's not hitting his shots, he's not doing a damn thing for you. So not a safe play, but there's really not a lot of punt stuff on this slate right now. So he's one of the guys that I kind of like a little bit.
No. Something could open up for the Pels. Let me see real quick. At shooting guard, could we be looking at Brandon Boston?
Brandon Boston? Oh my God! I don't think I can do it again.
No, I don't want to.
He's hurt me too many times.
I don't want to. But if there's no Zion, and we already know there's no Jordan Hawkins, I think they're missing somebody else too. Well, obviously Brandon Ingram's been out. And yeah, Tice too. I don't think Tice really moves the needle. But if Zion is out and we already know Hawkins is out, Boston should get like 15 to 20 minutes. And he's not shooting guard, but Javonte Green's another guy we could consider too. So there could be a punt there with the Pelicans. But that said, yeah, of course. That said, that is GPP only, and honestly, there's just not really anything punt worthy at shooting guard. I think you just have so many good guys from like 4.7 to 5.7 in that at that position. That's probably where I would live for the most part. And honestly, unless Zion's out and Trey Murphy looks like a god to me here, I'm probably at shooting guard. The highest I'm going is Oubre, most likely. I think he's a core play for me right now in Discord. We'll see if that sticks, but just the minutes are so good for his price and matchup. So I like him quite a bit. At small forward, Scotty Barnes is there too. He looks really good. Jason Tatum, let's talk about him for a second because he's been horrendous. Like for a stud, like you're paying almost 10K for this guy. He's been really, really bad. Like what's he? Let me look at this real quick. He's at 33, 36, 38, 35. That's his game log in the last 4 games. We know he can be better than that. He had 50 fantasy points the game before that the streak he just had. And he's getting the Pelicans. So he projects pretty well. The prices come down. The matchup is glorious. If ever there was a spot to bank on Tatum snapping out of a funk, tonight could be the night. So I actually really like him for tournaments. He's not really a cash play, obviously. He's not a core play. But I think if you're looking for an unowned stud who can go get you 60-plus fantasy points, I don't hate Tatum.
I see that he's like 25% owned, so I don't think he's
really?
on either side.
I don't think – let me refresh
he's chalky based on what I'm looking at.
Well, if he's chalky, everybody else can eat that shit. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not really getting there.
Refreshing the ownership as we speak.
We're looking at different ownership, so I don't know how it is over there, but –
okay.
He was on a nailness tag the other day and played through it. I don't know if he was ill before that, and that explains his poor run of form, but I just think there's other stuff to pay for on this slate. Like, I understand the Pelicans are a pretty favorable matchup, but we have Jokic, we have Giannis, we have Wemby, we have Cade. There's plenty of other stuff to pay for. Scotty Barnes I prefer at a pretty similar price point in a better game environment than Tatum. So I understand why you play Tatum, but Barnes is currently not projected to be that chalky, so I prefer Barnes.
Oh, 100%. I absolutely prefer Barnes, and I absolutely would rather go get Jokic or Giannis on this slate if I'm spending up. Definitely. I'm just saying, if you're doing a lot of lineups, I would be a little bit overweight if he ends up being low owned. When I was looking at it, Tatum was not very owned. So if he's going to be 25%, that's a big no thanks for me. I'd much rather go to Jaylen Brown, who is almost $2,000 cheaper. I don't really care that much about the ownership there because he projects okay. He's just a discount for who he is. So he looks pretty good. Trey Murphy's there again. RJ Barrett, for the love of God, if he could ever hit in a smash matchup, that'd be cool. I think he's okay if Quickly's back, but I'm not really into it. If Quickly's still out, RJ Barrett, I mean, you can still do that dance as prices come down. He's fine then. But after that, I would really just kind of look to save cash here. Small forward's kind of gross, honestly, after you get past that top level of guys.
Yeah, RJ Barrett is pretty cheap. 7.3, 8K on FanDuel, not cheap, but
don't do it.
FanDuel, where you have to play 2 small forwards, it's very hard to find anyone to play. So a lot of my lineups have Scotty and RJ together, and I think that's okay because otherwise, like, what are you looking at on FanDuel? There's really nothing to like once you get past the Tatum tier. Like, I'm not into Miles Bridges against the Clippers. I think Kawhi might be semi-interesting at 7K. The minutes have been coming up, playing around 30 or so lately. Charlotte's a great matchup with several players missing from the lineup. So 7K for Kawhi, I think you can do. Norm Powell, a bit expensive. Otherwise, I'm probably paying down Asar Thompson, like I talked about, Middleton, but he's pushing 6K on FanDuel. Keldon Johnson, I think, is an okay punt in that Milwaukee-San Antonio game, just a high usage roll off the bench. And then, once again, our old favorite Taurean Prince didn't really get the minutes in the last game, but Bobby Portis is out, should have a decent enough role, and he's cheap. So if you want to punt it on FanDuel, I'd probably do it with Prince as of now.
I think Prince is okay. I don't have a problem with it. I think if Grady – is Grady Dick officially in?
questionable, I think.
Okay, if he and Quickly are out, I think we can go back to Bruce Brown at 4.6K. If those guys are in, I don't really have any interest there. What was the other one I was going to say?
Ricky Council on DK and Justin Edwards are both
they're
still
fine.
cheap for Philly with George out. I don't hate them.
No, not at all. I would lean towards 2 starts, but they're definitely fair options. Oh, this is the Kawhi thing. So I agree. Kawhi is cheap, and his minutes are coming up, pushing 30 minutes now. So I don't have a problem with it. I would just say if you think that this game is going to blow out, like you should, then you're only getting 3/4 of limited Kawhi. It doesn't feel amazing to me. So if I'm looking at it that way, I don't really like Kawhi here. But if you look at just from a price and with the minutes ticking up aspect, I think he's totally fine. You mentioned Azar Thompson. I obviously prefer him on FanDuel. I mean, he could get a little bit of a tick up in minutes with Isaiah Stewart serving his 1-game suspension, but you just never know. He usually does not. I think that's pretty much it. Actually, Quentin Grimes gets like about 25 minutes a game. His prices come down 4.3K. I don't hate it. I think it's an okay final piece in there in the name of Taurean Prince or something. Not the worst thing. And the other guy I wanted to point out, 3.6 Javonte Green, if Zion is out, because then that's Zion and Jordan Hawkins that are out. So I think he'd be locked into 20, 25 minutes pretty safely, maybe more. And he'd be a pretty good punt as things stand. Obviously, hopefully things open up so we don't have to do that. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't really want to do that. Robinson Earl maybe, like Tyson's out also. That's a possibility. But Pelicans cheap guys are just things I don't want to do.
That's fair. All right, moving on to power forward. We still have, obviously, some of the same guys we talked about, but Giannis leads the way with the best projection of the slate, which is saying something when Jokic is also there. He's only 11.5K, though, so you can save money as opposed to Jokic. He looks good against the Spurs. I will say, though, that the Spurs can be a bit limiting in there. Wemby can swat the shit out of Giannis if he wants to. But if you want to play Giannis, I got no problem there. He looks really good. Looks like one of the best plays of the entire slate. There's also Tatum we talked about. I'm not going to play Zion even if he's in. He's just limited in a not so great matchup, but he's there. He is a GPP play if you want to. Washington at 7.3 projects pretty well here. The Pistons, by the way, don't give up a lot of rebounds, and they don't give up anything inside. So I'm not super eager to play Mavs bigs in this spot, but we know that Washington is kind of a little bit more perimeter based anyways. So I think he's an okay play at 7.3. I think, though, outside of Giannis, I'm not really looking to spend at power forward.
Yeah, I agree. Giannis is awesome. I'm getting to him a lot more than Jokic as of now. Probably a price thing and a positional thing, but no issue with it. I like them both, obviously, but as of now, Giannis looks like the easier play. The ownership is going to reflect that, though, which is going to put Jokic, obviously, in play. On FanDuel, Giannis is 11.9, so RJ Barrett, you can also play there with Barnes, which you can't on DK, so that makes power forward a little bit better over here. I think the best play on the entire slate is Aaron Gordon.
Yep.
Started the last game after coming off the bench since his calf injury, top 30 minutes, so that's essentially what we've been waiting on, his minutes limit to be cleared, and it seems like it is cleared. He's not priced for the role. He's under 5K still. He's just over 5K on FanDuel, but
yeah, again, he's the coriest of core plays on both sites. The easiest click. If Aaron Gordon fails you, so effing.
I think he's a lot better on DK than FanDuel. He's like 4.4 on DK. Like
but he's only 5K on FanDuel. Like there's not like, as we know, it's only 6 games. Not that much.
I think it's a stronger position overall on FanDuel, so he's not.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he's only power forward eligible there too. That's annoying.
Mm-hmm. Giannis is also only power forward, so you can't squeeze those guys around.
I mean, I think you just need to pick your spots. If you're doing one lineup, you can do Gordon and Giannis. That's pretty easy. Or you go Gordon.
You can do that. I'm saying I don't think he's like an absolute stone cold must the way he is on DK.
Okay. Well, either way, definitely a great play on DK at 4.4K. He's 100% in my lineups. I think Yabusele at 6.6K. Like they don't have anybody else, so I think he's okay. Like I'm not really racing to go there. Like I said, I'm either getting Giannis at power forward or I'm dropping down to Aaron Gordon. That's pretty much what I'm doing here. The other thing about Giannis, like I don't want to tell you not to play Giannis, but not only is it like a price thing against Jokic, but it, like you said, the positional eligibility thing is major here. People are going to want to pay down in the mid-range for centers or go get Diabate or Pirtle, like whatever the case may be. There's a lot of centers, as there usually are, plus Wemby, of course. So people are going to want to have Giannis there in the power forward slot. So if by fading Giannis, you're not just doing an ownership thing, but you're also just building your lineups in a different way than everybody else is building. Like naturally, if you fade him, you're going to be doing that. But you know what I mean? So I think it's just a way different way of constructing your lineup. So if Giannis is going to be way more owned than Jokic, I have a ton of ownership or interest in Jokic today.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is facing off against Yabusele, so that's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah.
Also worth noting that Porzingis and Wembanyama are power forward on FanDuel, so these guys you can only play at center on DK. On FanDuel, they have a little bit more intrigue because of the multi-positional stuff. Wemby's not going to be nearly as owned as Giannis for $100 less, but as we know, he scores better on FanDuel than he does on DK. So if Giannis is going to be 30% owned and Wemby's going to be like 10 or so, I wouldn't say to flip that ownership, but just being over the field on Wemby is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, power forward's kind of loaded there, so I definitely see your point about maybe not locking in Aaron Gordon there. It's just tough because like $5K for Aaron Gordon there seems so good. I wish he was small forward eligible too. It'd make it a lot easier. Any other punts at power forward that you're gravitating toward?
Edwards and Council again, like we talked about. Keldon Johnson again. Asar Thompson again. I do think PJ is a strong play. Detroit without Stewart, like that's a pretty good defender who's not going to see the floor at all. So there is a bit more opportunity. If you want to go cheap, I guess you can try Patrick Williams just because he has a role, but I hate playing Patrick Williams and you should too. But he's cheap. He could play 30 minutes. The matchup for the season is good against Toronto. Maybe not so much lately. And then I think Sohan, he's 4.9 on DK and 5.5 on FanDuel. Like he's gotten really cheap. He hasn't been playing very well. But I don't mind buying low on a guy like that who earlier in the season showed ceiling. Lately he has not. But if the minutes come back up in a matchup type thing, I think Sohan in tournaments is pretty intriguing.
Yeah, if he's going to get the minutes, I agree with you there. It's just tough to really trust that. Any interest in
for sure?
Any interest in Matas Buzelis with Levine out?
No.
Well, didn't he? He got run then last game. Was that just because of the blowout though?
Don't know.
Well, 19 and 21 minutes. I don't know. I don't think he's the worst punt at 3.8K at a position that's not really that appealing beyond Giannis up top. I mean, there are plays, but I don't know. I don't think he's the worst value. All right, over to center we go. Giannis, best projection. There's Jokic too. I right now just have a major lean towards Jokic. That's just where I'm going to be. If most everyone's going to Giannis, I'm just going to play Jokic here and build my lineups that way. Nothing wrong with Wemby either. He's even less owned. I just think Jokic against Yabusele is like insane. Like I want to take that for sure. He had 72 fantasy points last time he played the Sixers. I would not be shocked if he dropped
30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the game really stays close, but I don't think it matters either. He was very bad last game, 40 fantasy points. I believe he had foul trouble. But whatever the case, I expect a massive bounce back, and I want every bit of that. So while Wemby and Giannis are very, very good plays, that's where I'm going. You can also drop down to Vooch or Porzingis or even Gafford and Zoo. All those guys look good. Pirtle looks good. I think if I was going to drop down further, I'd be looking at Porzingis and Pirtle first. I think those guys are just looking like really good plays when you look at price compared to those other options.
Yeah, Porzingis, I really love. The matchup's great for him. Even Misi's not going to want to leave the paint. They don't really want to chase him out to the perimeter. We saw some ceiling in the last game, so good price, 7K on DK, power forward eligible on FanDuel. I think he's an awesome play. I like Jalen Duren quite a bit. He's a bit more expensive than he's been for a while, but no Stewart, maybe his minutes get a little bit more secure. He's also picked it up quite a bit since the beginning of the season. So Duren looks decent to me in tournaments. Gafford, like you talked about, just a beast lately with Derek Lively out. I don't mind Zoo, maybe more so on FanDuel, but Charlotte with Taj Gibson and Moussa Diabate playing center, that's a pretty good spot. Diabate is still cheap, but I don't really think I want to play him in this spot against the Clippers on the other side of that game, playing off the bench. Just a pure rebounder, not going to get usage. So if people want to chase it, it's okay, but I will probably not be doing that. Instead, I will be punting the center spot with Paul Reed, who will play the Isaiah Stewart role tonight. He's an elite per minute producer, much better than Isaiah Stewart is. We've seen him get there in pretty limited minutes. He's 3K flat on DK, 3.6 on FanDuel. If he plays 15 to 20 minutes, I think he can certainly get there. So wouldn't play him with Duran, of course, but individually, I think Paul Reed is pretty strong. Look at those game logs, baby.
Yeah, that's the thing. Don't look at the game logs. It's irrelevant. Stewart leaves behind 15 to 20 minutes. Paul Reed should soak that up. And I think Jalen Duran, because based off of his history, is going to get in freaking massive foul trouble tonight. And Paul Reed's going to play a crap ton. So at 3K, like it's just a true pure punt. You only really need him to get 15 to 20 fantasy points, honestly. But I think he can do a lot more damage than that. I think he's an amazing play. I will not make him a core play because he's not starting. And really.
Definitely not a core play.
No, he could get DNP'd. But he's like, for all intents and purposes, he kind of is a core play for me. I really like him. I think he's great. Because also, I think Diabate is a good play in the sense that I actually like that he's not starting and facing Zoo right off the bat. And if there's a blowout, he probably gets a good amount of runs. So I think he's okay. I would just rather take the 1.2K in savings. Or I'd rather go up and get somebody like Pirtle or Zoo or Porzingis. Like that's what I'm doing. I want to get Jokic. I think it's a 2-center slate, personally. I think I want to get Jokic, and I want to come down and either fully punt there or live in that sweet mid-range because it looks really good. You can also look at Gafford. How do you feel about Gafford? Because, like, in theory, that matchup is not that good. Like, the Pistons, by the numbers, do not give up a lot of rebounds, do not give up much inside. What are you thinking there? Are you not concerned?
Not really. I mean, he's gotten more expensive, but there's a reason for that. I did mention him on FanDuel. Like, the minutes have been up lately as the starter. I think it's okay. Not a core play at all. Like, Pirtle, Zoo, and Porzingis are all in the same range, so definitely not like a play I'm building around, but Gafford's always viable if you get to him. I think Lopez is also okay if you land there.
Yeah, I mean, Gafford is just like the ceiling is undeniably great. I just think if I'm going in that range, I would much prefer Pirtle, Zubac, and Porzingis personally. All right, let's wrap it up here with our overall flag plant and general strategy for the slate.
I guess I'll flag plant Cade. I don't think the ownership is really going to be there. There are quite a few strong plays, not really at point guard, though. So I don't think a lot of people are going to pay all the way up if they're paying all the way up for Giannis or Jokic or Wemby or whoever elsewhere. So Cade at what looks like pretty reasonable ownership and a good spot in a game with a tight spread, given his role without Ivy, looks pretty strong to me. So I'll be over the field on him.
Yeah, I think my flag plant will be twofold. I think number one, I'm just fading Giannis and playing Jokic. That's just the first thing I'm going to do. I don't think it's not necessarily going to be that wide of a gap ownership wise, because every time you think Jokic is going to get overlooked, he still gets super owned. So, but even so, I think Giannis is going to carry enough ownership that is going to completely change the way you build your lineups if you go that route. And the other thing is Scotty Barnes. Like right now, his ownership is incredibly low. Like I don't really know what was it. What was his ownership where you're looking?
Who was that?
Scotty Barnes.
9 on DraftKings.
That's insanely low.
And on FanDuel, 16.
Okay, so at both sites, I would like to be overweight on Scotty Barnes. I think he looks awesome, even if Quickly's back. He, excuse me, he's like one of my favorite plays of the entire slate and my favorite point guard of the night. All right, that does it for us. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you get more videos just like this, and also come join our Discord so we can help you win in a more personalized fashion. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.